Good morning, Virgo. Please listen. Just listen. Because what is coming through in your energy right now is so urgent, so alive, so impossible to ignore that I need you to put everything else down for the next few minutes and simply be here, fully here. Not half reading while your mind is somewhere else. Not skimming the surface while your attention drifts here, present, breathing. Because what I am about to say to you matters in a way that I do not use that word lightly. And the fact that you came back, the fact that something brought you back to this space, to this reading, to this moment is itself part of what I need to speak to. Because you coming back is not a coincidence. It is a confirmation. And confirmations, when they arrive in the form of a soul finding its way back to a truth it already recognized, deserve to be honored with complete honesty. You were right. And I want to stay with that for a moment before we go any further, because I think it is one of the most undervalued experiences a person can have. The experience of having trusted something they felt, something quiet and internal and easy to dismiss, and then watching the world show them in its own time and in its own way that they were not imagining it, that the feeling was real, that the instinct was accurate, that the thing they sensed moving beneath the surface of their situation was actually there, actually moving, actually unfolding exactly the way some deep part of them already knew it would. You have spent time, perhaps a great deal of time, questioning your own perception, wondering whether you were reading too much into things, projecting, hoping in a direction that wasn't real, and now something has happened or is happening that is answering that question in a way that your rational mind can no longer argue with. Trust yourself more. That is perhaps the first thing I want to say to you before anything else, before we go deeper into what is unfolding. Because the fact that you were right about this person, about this situation, about the energy you were sensing before it became visible is not luck. It is not coincidence. It is the fruit of a perceptive capacity that you have always carried, but may not have always given yourself full permission to rely on. You feel things before they become visible. You sense the shape of things before they announce themselves. That is a gift, a rare and genuinely extraordinary gift. And the experience of being confirmed in what you already felt is an invitation to stop treating your own deepest perceptions as suspects that need to prove themselves before you will believe them. Now, let me speak to what is happening or what may be happening in this situation that has brought you back tonight with that urgent, breathless, I need to say this feeling. Because the energy I am feeling around you right now is not static. It is not the energy of a situation that has simply continued on its previous trajectory. Something has shifted, something has moved. Something that was in one position is now in another, and the change, however it has manifested in the visible details of your life, is being felt by you with an intensity that tells me it is significant. Not just circumstantially significant, soulfully significant. The kind of shift that touches something at the root rather than merely rearranging the surface. And I want to speak to the person at the center of this because I feel them strongly in your energy tonight, more strongly than before, as though the distance between you has contracted in some way that hasn't yet been fully articulated but is already being felt. There is something different in their energy, a quality of presence that has changed, that has become, if I had to find a word for it, more honest, as though something they were protecting or performing or holding at a careful distance has begun to drop away, and what is left beneath it is rawer and realer and closer to the truth of what they actually feel. You may have witnessed a version of this already, a moment, a word, an expression, a reaching out that surprised you with its directness or its vulnerability or its simple, undisguised humanness. And that moment, small as it may have appeared from the outside, may have been the beginning of something that is larger than it looked. In the ancient symbolic traditions I draw from, there is an image of a seed cracking open beneath the soil. It is invisible. It happens in the dark, without witnesses, without ceremony. But it is the most consequential moment in the entire life of the plant, because everything that comes after, the stem, the leaves, the flowering, the fruit, everything depends on that first irreversible crack. The moment when the shell that protected the seed releases its hold, because the life inside has finally become too large and too insistent to be contained any longer. I feel that quality in this person's energy right now. Something that has been held, tightly held, for reasons that made sense at the time, held out of fear or pride or the complicated self-protection that people reach for when they are not yet sure whether what they feel will be met or rejected. Something is cracking open, slowly but unmistakably. And what is growing through that crack is something you already know the shape of, because you felt it long before it became visible. And you were right. Let me also speak to the emotional landscape of what you are moving through right now, because I think it would be incomplete to focus only on their energy without honoring the complexity of yours. Because being confirmed in what you felt does not automatically resolve the feelings that accumulated in the time before the confirmation arrived. There may still be tenderness in you, a residue of the uncertainty, of the waiting, of the moments when you almost let yourself believe and then pulled back because the evidence wasn't yet there. There may be a part of you that is simultaneously relieved and cautious relieved because you were right, cautious because being right does not guarantee what comes next will be easy or simple or free from the complications that human connection always inevitably carries. All of that is valid. All of that deserves to be acknowledged rather than rushed past in the excitement of the shift. Because here is what I know about the moments that follow a significant confirmation, the moments when the thing you sensed becomes the thing that is real, when the invisible becomes visible, when the feeling finds its external form. These moments are full of possibility, but they are also full of a particular kind of vulnerability that can feel destabilizing if you are not prepared for it. The vulnerability of now what? Of having the thing you were reaching for finally within reach and suddenly feeling the full weight of what it means to actually have it, rather than simply wanting it from a distance. Distance is safe in its way. Distance allows you to love the idea of something without having to navigate the reality of it. And the reality of something genuine, something deep, something that matters as much as this appears to matter, that reality asks things of you. Beautiful things, necessary things, but things nonetheless. I want you to go into whatever unfolds next with your eyes fully open, not with suspicion. I sense nothing here that warrants suspicion, but with the clear, grounded, self-possessed awareness of someone who knows their own worth, knows what they need, and is no longer willing to make themselves smaller or quieter or less than they are in order to accommodate someone else's comfort. Because the version of this connection that is worth having, the version that is actually forming in the energy I feel around you, is one that can hold all of you, not a curated or diminished version, not the version that is careful and contained and strategically presented, the full, complex, luminous, sometimes difficult, always extraordinary version of who you actually are. That is what is being called for, and that is what I believe this person is beginning to genuinely want to meet. There may be a conversation approaching, or perhaps it has already begun in small ways, in the changed quality of an exchange, in something that was said or done that felt like a door opening where before there had only been wall. Whatever form this conversation takes, whatever medium it moves through, whatever words find their way between you and this person in the days and weeks ahead, I want you to bring yourself to it completely. Not the self that is managing the interaction from a safe remove, not the self that is calculating each response for maximum protection against vulnerability. The self that was right, the self that felt this before it was confirmed, the self that has been waiting with a patience and a faith that deserve to be rewarded for the moment when the truth of what exists between you and this person could finally be spoken in the open air. That moment may be arriving, and with it, something that carries the particular quality of a beginning that is also a return, a new chapter that feels paradoxically like coming home to something you always knew was there. The symbolic landscape around this connection speaks of depth, of genuine feeling on both sides, of a mutual recognition that has been searching for the right conditions to fully express itself. Those conditions may finally be assembling. The timing that felt perpetually off may be finding its alignment. And the universe, which has a way of holding things in suspension until all the necessary pieces are in place, may be preparing to release this particular story into its next and most significant movement. I also want to speak to what you may need to release in order to fully step into this, because every genuine new beginning requires a corresponding release of the protective story, of the defensive posture, of the version of events that kept you safe during the uncertain period but is no longer necessary now that the uncertainty is beginning to resolve. There may be narratives you have been telling yourself about what is possible, about whether this person is truly capable of the depth of feeling you need, about whether you are someone who gets to have this particular kind of connection that may need to be gently, consciously set down, not because they were wrong to have formed. They formed for good reasons as protection during a period when you needed protecting, but they may have outlived their usefulness. And carrying them forward into a new chapter that is trying to be different from the old ones would be like walking into a garden in winter clothes because you have forgotten that the season has changed. The season is changing. That is perhaps the most essential thing I want you to carry away from tonight. Something in the atmosphere around your life is different from what it was. The quality of the air has shifted. The light is falling at a different angle. And the person who has been holding something quietly, faithfully, with a love that asked nothing in return because it had no expectation of being received, that person may be preparing to let it be known, may be preparing to say, in whatever way is most true to who they are, what they have been feeling, and for how long, and with what depth of sincerity, and you standing on the other side of that declaration, or that reaching, or that changed quality of presence, You deserve to receive it with all the grace and openness and genuine willingness to believe in good things. That has always been one of the most beautiful things about you. Even when life made it difficult to sustain, believe in this. Carefully, wisely, with your full self present and your eyes open, but believe. Because something real is moving toward you, something that knows your name, that has been thinking about you in the quiet hours, that has been carrying a feeling too large for silence for longer than you may realize. And the confirmation you came back tonight to speak about the thing that happened, the shift you witnessed, the moment that made you say you were right, that was not the end of the story. That was the beginning of the part where the story finally starts to say what it has been trying to say all along. You were right, and there is more rightness coming. Stay open for it. Stay present for it. Stay close to the version of yourself that trusted its own perception even when the external world had not yet caught up, because that version of you is the one that will know exactly how to navigate what comes next. If this found you at the exact moment you needed it, if something here gave language to what you have been feeling and confirmed what you already knew, then trust that resonance completely. Subscribe and stay close, because what is unfolding in your energy right now is a story that is only just beginning to reveal its full shape, and the readings ahead will be there for every step of it.